Gospel according to John chapter 19. Then Pilate therefore took Jesus and scourged him. And the soldiers plotted a crown of thorns and put it on his head. And they put on him a purple robe and said, Hail, King of the Jews! And they smote him with their hands. Pilate therefore went forth again and saith unto them, Behold, I bring him forth to you, that ye may know that I find no fault in him. Well, so they were waiting for someone else to kill him because it's against their law. But look, he just said, I've found no fault in them. So let's see what they're going to do about that now. Then came Jesus forth, wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe. And Pilate saith unto them, Behold the man. When the chief priests, therefore, and officers saw him, they cried out, saying, Crucify him, crucify him. They still don't want to get their hands dirty, right? They're still asking for someone else to do their dirty laundry, right? Because that's the whole thing. They're too scared and cowardly to kill them themselves, and they don't want blood in their hands. But they don't seem to understand the law. The law has to do with your actions and, yeah, your thoughts. If you're trying to get somebody killed, so if you're soliciting out murder, yeah, it's probably worse than murder. Soliciting out murder. And that's what they've been doing. And they are still soliciting out murder. The Roman Pilate said, I don't see anything wrong with him, so I'm not going to do anything. I find no fault in him. And they began with their, no, we can't kill him, you have to do it for us thing, right? Crucify him, crucify him. Pilate saith unto them, Take ye him and crucify him, for I find no fault in him. Oh, he's going to make them do it themselves? So it's not Pilate, right, doing that. Pilate refused to. And they're saying, now the Jews answered him, We have a law, and by our law ought to die, because he made himself the Son of God. Oh, here they go, crying, soliciting more murder, guys. Soliciting more murder. When Pilate therefore heard that saying, he was more afraid. And went again into the judgment hall, and saith unto Jesus, Whence art thou? But Jesus gave him no answer. Then saith Pilate unto him, Speakest thou not unto me? Knowest thou not that I have power to crucify thee, and have power to release thee? Jesus answered, Thou couldst have no power at all against me, except it were given thee from above. Therefore he that delivered me unto thee hath the greater sin. Yeah, that's for damn sure. That's what I've been going on and on about. That the Jews won't even kill him. They're just soliciting out murder. They're doing murder for hire. And that is indeed, to this day, even to this day on our law books, that is more egregious than murder, soliciting out murder. And Jesus confirms that. He says, Thou couldst have no power at all against me, except if it were given thee from above. Therefore he that delivered me unto thee hath the greater sin. And he's not talking about his Lord and Father upstairs that delivered him into these hands. He is strictly speaking of these Pharisees and elders. They delivered him into there. They were too scared to kill him themselves. They want solicited murder out of Pilate. And from thenceforth, Pilate sought to release him. Yeah. He understood. He understood. But the Jews cried out, saying, If thou let this man go, thou art not Caesar's friend. Whosoever maketh himself a king speaketh against Caesar. Oh, so now they're trying to threaten Caesar, or they're threatening Pilate. Yeah, so threatening. When Pilate therefore heard that saying, he brought Jesus forth and sat down in the judgment seat in a place that is called Pavement, but in the Hebrew, Gabbatha. That's interesting, right? Because don't we walk on pavement every day, right? And it was the preparation of the Passover in about the 6th hour. And he said unto the Jews, Behold your king. But they cried out, away with him, crucify him. Pilate saith unto them, Shall I crucify your king? The chief priests answered, We have no king but Caesar. Oh my God. Oh, so they... You see why Jesus is even here? Because they refuse all law. They have dismembered the law to an extent where it just serves them. And do you see what they just said? The chief priests answered, We have no king but Caesar. What they should be saying is, we have no God but our Father. This is absolutely hypocritical. We have one king and it's God. That's what they should have said. Not we have one king and it's Caesar. So they're really trying to solicit this murder out. They're doing anything they can. They're at their last straw. Let's see if this works. So they're even crying to Caesar another lie, another piece of hypocrisy. They are basing this on their group, but their group is indebted to God, supposedly, but they can't even lie about it. They're so pharisaical at this point. They can't even say, we just have one ruler and it's God. They say, we just have one ruler and it's Caesar. So now they're threatening Pilate because Pilate's like, just let him go, man. You didn't do anything. You're out of control. And now they're threatening Pilate, saying, you know what? We only have one king and it's Caesar. Instead of saying we only have one king and it's God, right? So let's see what happens. The Jews are threatening Caesar now. I can barely get through this. There's just one more chapter. This is horrifying to me. And he, bearing his cross, went forth into a place called the place of a skull, which is called in the Hebrew Golgotha. When they crucified him and two other with him. Well, who's crucifying him? I don't know. It's kind of interesting because Pilate has refused to do that. He said over and over, I don't see any fault in this guy. Why are you doing this? Here, take him back. He didn't even want to kill him. He met him in the pavement, said, heard him one more time, and brought him back out and said, here's your king. Right? Take him back. I'm not doing anything to him. So now we're getting into language about crucifixion, and I don't know who's crucifying him at this point, because the Romans have the Caesar, Pilate refused. His boss is Caesar. Pilate has refused to do this action. He sees nothing wrong, and he's a good judge of character. And now the Jews threaten Pilate, saying, well, you know who our king is? It's only Caesar. Like, in fact, they should be saying, Pilate, you're praise for Pilate. He's our guy. They're threatening him, going, our only king is Caesar, right? And that is, I can't believe the statement, because they should just be saying our only king is God. They're saying it's Caesar. So Caesar just throws him out the door. And now suddenly he's been crucified. And I'm questioning who is doing this, because the Jews are too good for that. They don't want blood on their hands. So who is crucifying him? It must be the Roman soldiers that had dressed him up and were around him, because the way this is reading is that they've been told, we're not going to do anything. You do something. And they're like, but we can't. We have to solicit murder out because we can't kill them with our own bare hands. This is the vilest thing, right? All right, when they crucified him, I don't know who did this, but it wasn't the Jews, right? Right? Because they're too scared to do that. They're too scared. Yeah, new things this day called solicited murder, right? I just don't know why they don't say, and the Romans came and crucified him, or the Jews just got so sick of him and trying to solicit this murder that they just got fed up and did it themselves, right? It seems like there should be a sentence in here like that, but I was looking for it. When they crucified him and two other with him on either side, and Jesus in the midst. And Pilate wrote a title and put it on the cross. And the writing was, Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews. Yeah, so they pressured Pilate, it looks like, to get his people to kill him. And then he just joined in and wrote this. The INRI, right? This title then read many of the Jews, for the place where Jesus was crucified was nigh to the city, and it was written in Hebrew and Greek and Latin. Who did that? Did Pilate write it in all three languages? It doesn't seem like he would do that, but he wrote it once. Then said the chief priests of the Jews to Pilate, write not the King of the Jews, but that he said, I am King of the Jews. I am. Pilate answered, what have I written? I have written. What I have written, I have written. Boy, these Pharisees are trying to correct him. He's already up on the cross. This is lawyer. This is the... These are the lawyers. These are the hatefulest of the hatefulest, right? And it's not enough that they wrote King of the Jews. He wrote it. He probably believes he was King of the Jews. And these little Pharisee come up and say, oh no, you have to write, he said, I am King of the Jews. Yeah, you can't write not the King of the Jews, but that he said, I am King of the Jews. There's a huge difference, right? So Pilate is actually recognizing, you know what, he's King of the Jews, right? I'm pretty sure. Like, I don't know what's wrong with these people. At least that happened. I don't think that is to make fun of him. I don't think that's in jest. I think he realized that, yeah, he's pretty much King of the Jews. And then, because people always say what is written there, that the Jews wrote to make fun of him. It says the king. No, here it is right here. It explains it right here. The Pilate wrote it first, and I believe he wrote it because he believed it. And the Jews right away come up complaining that you're getting what you want, you dirtbags, right? He is being murdered. And they're like, well, we don't like the description on the top of the murdered man. We don't like that quite. It's not quite right. So they actually approached him and told him to change it. Then said the chief priest of the Jews to Pilate, write not the King of the Jews, but that he said, I am the King of the Jews. Pilate answered, what I have written, I have written. Shut them up. Then the soldiers, when they had crucified Jesus, took his garments and made 4 parts, to every soldier a part, and also his coat. Now the coat was without seam, woven from the top throughout. They said therefore among themselves, let us not rend it, but cast lots for it, whose it shall be, that the scripture might be fulfilled, which saith, they parted my raiment among them, and for my vesture they did cast lots. These things therefore the soldiers did. So this is written in the Torah, that they parted my raiment, they parted his clothes, and for the coat, they cast lots, because it was a beautiful coat that had no seam in it. Now there stood by the cross of Jesus his mother, and his mother's sister Mary, the wife of Cleophas, and Mary Magdalene. When Jesus therefore saw his mother and the disciple standing by, whom he loved, he said unto his mother, Woman, behold thy son. Then said he to the disciple, Behold thy mother. And from that hour that disciple took her unto his own home. I don't know who they're talking about. Are they talking about Jonathan? I mean John. We're in the book of John. Mary the wife, Mary Magdalene. Is he considering Mary Magdalene a disciple? Why does it say when Jesus therefore saw his mother and the disciple standing by? It says, now there stood by the cross, previous sentence of Jesus, his mother and his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Cleophas, and Mary Magdalene. I think he's calling Mary Magdalene a disciple, because it says when he saw his mother and the disciple. Is that Mary Magdalene? Because there's nobody else standing there. Then said he to the disciple, Behold thy mother. And from that hour that disciple took her unto his own home. It's his. Maybe it's not Mary Magdalene. No. I don't know. It's not mentioned here. After this, Jesus, knowing that all things were now accomplished, that the scripture might be fulfilled, saith, I thirst. And there was set a vessel full of vinegar, and they filled a sponge with vinegar, and put it upon hyssop, and put it to his mouth. In fact, he's not even breaking the Passover, right? Because that's what happened. That's the same thing. Well, Jesus said that whoever takes the sop and gives it to me, or whoever I give the sop to, right? And he was dipping the sop in the vinegar for Passover. And right now, that vinegar is placed in front of him. I don't know who did that. And someone took some hyssop, and that's the action they do. They're dipping the bitter herb in the I don't know, is vinegar okay? Well, I know vinegar is not okay for you to have in your house over Passover. So I'm kind of confused about this vinegar thing. But the hyssop is the bitter herb. You're supposed to have that. So he's using the bitter herb, but vinegar is prohibited. It is verboten for Passover. So I'm not quite sure what this means. But it is a parallel to the hyssop that just happened with Judas, right? When Jesus therefore had received the vinegar, he said, It is finished, and he bowed his head and gave up the ghost. The vinegar. That means something right there. I don't know what, because I don't know. You're not supposed to have like vinegar and soy sauce, and I take all of that out, right? even though it's okay, you can have apple cider vinegar, I think. I don't keep it in there, but I know why. I just don't remember. But their regular vinegar is, okay, I see. Because it's usually pressed from wheat or rice vinegar. It's pressed from shimlets, which you're not supposed to eat. You're not supposed to eat any leaven, right? So somehow I don't know how vinegar is made. There's different ways. But it's expressly prohibited during Passover. So I'm wondering why there's vinegar here at the end, what this signifies. I gotta look up this vinegar thing. Right? And Jesus, therefore, the Jews, therefore, because it was the preparation that the body should not remain upon the cross on the Sabbath day. No, they shouldn't be killing and murdering people and actually brokering and soliciting out for murder. That's what they needed to do, not worry that the body should remain on the cross on the Sabbath, right? That's what happens when you solicit murder. For that Sabbath day was an high day. Yeah, well, it's going to be. Pilate, that their legs might be broken and that they might be taken away. Oh, they besought Pilate that their legs might be broken and that they may be taken away. Then came the soldiers and brake the legs of the first and of the other which was crucified with him. But when they came to Jesus and saw that he was dead already, they brake not his legs. So this is just so disturbing to me that these fucking Jews will not, they are such crybabies. They're going, can you guys go and break their legs so they'll die quicker because we don't want, to have that look on the Sabbath. Like, that's like a really bad look for us. So would you mind, like, breaking their legs? Like, they can't even fucking break their legs themselves. But one of the soldiers with a spear pierced his side, and forthwith came there out blood and water. And he saw it bear record, and his record is true, and he knoweth that he saith true, that ye might believe. For these things were done, that the scripture should be fulfilled, a bone of him shall not be broken. Oh, that's why the Jews wanted to, they are Pharisee, they are lying to themselves, because if they really just wanted to make sure that their thoughts were linear, and they didn't even study the Old Testament. They never even asked him, where were you born? But at this point, they needed to make sure they broke his legs so that nobody would believe this guy did not have broken bones. That is the very least of the things. He was already dead, and they couldn't even bring themselves. They are such cowards. They couldn't even bring themselves to break his bones so that the scripture would not be fulfilled. That's all they had to do. But all they had to do to make sure scripture unfulfilled was break his bones, right? But they are such hypocrites. They don't know the Torah, number one, because they would have just asked. They would have. Okay, they're not going to know from the Torah. Yeah, they would. They would know clues about Jesus being born. I don't know if it says Bethlehem, but I'm pretty sure it already says that in their Torah, right? If it doesn't, it still bears witness, because Herod went around killing everybody, and they should have all remembered that. So we're at the very end, and the height of hypocrisy has been reached now, because all these fools have to do, and they don't even consider it. It's like, it's a spiritual war, because they don't even consider it. They don't even read their Torah. They don't realize that this person they're talking about, none of his bones will be broken. All somebody had to do was go up and break one of his fingers, and it would make him fulfilling the law moot. It would make it obsolete. It has to be intact, right? This whole thing's intact. They would not even break his bone. They are letting this occur. Why? Okay, so, like, you say you can't go kill somebody, but you can solicit it, right? Okay, so that's clear. So they've got that down, but they know about this broken bone part, like not one of his bones would be broke, and not one of them goes up and breaks his finger, to make sure that, like, they're not thinking this out. And a bone of him shall not be broken, and saith, and again another scripture saith, they shall look on him whom they pierced. And after this, Joseph of Arimathea, being a disciple of Jesus, but secretly for fear of the Jews, besought Pilate that he might take away the body of Jesus, and Pilate gave him leave. He came therefore and took the body of Jesus. And there came also Nicodemus, which at the first came to Jesus by night, and brought a mixture of myrrh and aloes, and about 100 pounds in weight. Right on. Then took they the body of Jesus, and wound it in linen clothes with the spices, as the manner of the Jews is to bury. So, he's a Jew, you see. He's getting buried by Jewish standard. But all the Jews wanted to kill him, and they did, and they didn't. They are so antichrist spirit that they didn't even go and break his bones, so that they could say, no, he's not. The scripture was not fulfilled. They didn't eat. I think they didn't know scripture. Or something, Satan blinded them to such a degree. Why didn't they just go up and break his finger? Seriously, that would have stopped this whole book from being written. Now in the place where he was crucified, there was a garden, and in the garden a new sepulchre, wherein was never man yet laid. Right? So it's a brand new grave. Just like that donkey he rode on to Gethsemane, right? Or out of there, was never ridden on before, right? They're laid, they Jesus, therefore, because of the Jews, prepared a day, for the sepulchre was nigh at hand.